I will be forever the myth.
You're the king of kings, huh?
There's always a pecking order. The little packers never mess with the big packers. So I'm a rooster, and he's a chicken, so to speak.
When they had the pose downs, that's when it became really aggressive, you know.
Yeah.
One would get in front of the other and bump them out of the way.
Really? Wow. Yeah.
And my problem was I was too laid back, and I had guys come up to me, John, you got to be more forcible. You got to, you know, it seems like every number of years I go back into a contest. So I went into a lot of drug-free contests afterwards.
Okay.
Later,
Yeah.
okay? And then when I was down here, I was living in Maryland. I went to train for the Masters Mr. America, which was held in D.C., and I injured my leg, groin, and I couldn't work out. So I didn't go in. The next year it was held in Worcester, Massachusetts, my old hometown.
Mm-hmm.
Not, you know, a town, but a state. So I trained and went up to Worcester, and it was supposed to have been drug tested, but they never showed up.
Oh, the drug testing people never showed up.
Yeah. And there was a guy there that, I'm trying to think of his name, Dave Bergman. He's dead now.
Mm-hmm.
He weighed about 225, probably 5'10". I weighed 175.
Mm-hmm.
And I won by 1 point. And he just swore backstage, pushed his family away, was terrible. And later on, he was arrested for selling steroids, and then died from a massive heart attack.
Oh, no kidding. And this was supposed to be a drug tested show.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't. Okay.
It wasn't.
How did you feel when you were competing in the Mr. America and you were drug free, and you had to know that everybody else was taking?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No.
It was still so new at the time.
That's right. Exactly. I'm going to tell you something, John. You're not going to believe this, but if I had gone back in 1970, the transition between 69 and 70
mm-hmm.
was so phenomenal. If I had gone back, I wouldn't have placed.
Wow, really?
I'm as a judge looking, and Peter Caputo and Don, they were Don Peters,
Mike Katz.
Mike Katz.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have beaten Katz that night.
But you beat him in 69.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think matter of fact, Peters beat him. Peters come in second to me, and then Caputo come in second in my height class. But Peters was in the tall class, yeah, and Mike came in second.
Mike Katz in the tall class, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But that's how. So I didn't really have to compete. Maybe guys were taking them, like Diana Ball or something, and gave them an edge.
Yeah.
But I didn't see it. But after 1970, I did. Wow.
So from 69 to 70, it changed so much.
It was phenomenal.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah. The edge was there. You had to get on to. That's why I dropped out.
Yeah. That's why you stopped competing.
Exactly. Yeah. But the bug was still in me. I still wanted to compete, but I knew I couldn't.
Yeah.
They had now all these drug-free, testing contests came in. And then I started entering. When I won the 64 Masters, it took 15 years off.
84. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
84, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 84. So in 2001, I entered this Maryland State Championship and won everything, won 7 contests in my 60s.
Really? No kidding.
Then in my 70s, I entered 2 contests and won those 2.
Jeez,
and then retired. So it was every few years I retire, then come back.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me about that, John. I'm really interested in learning that because I'm in my late 50s now. So how was your training and your diet and everything as you got into your 60s, your 70s? You competed up into your 70s, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
It was more, I used to eat, like I said, meat. Then I started eating tuna fish in the 80s.
Okay.
And then I switched over to chicken.
Okay.
So I've been eating chicken since.
Right.
Not only am I a big chicken, but I've been eating chicken. and it's my diet's clean, but every once in a while you go, you cheat. But my thing was I got off all dairy products. I was allergic to eggs and milk and cheese and all dairy. And when I did that, John, I went down to 180 pounds and been there ever since.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
You're still 180 today.
Pardon me?
You're still 180 today?
Yeah. Right on the nose. Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't know if you can you see me?
Look at that. That's amazing.
Still.
Wow. That's
trying
great.
to keep them up,
Yeah. So what's your training like today? You're still training 5 days a week?
I was until the pandemic.
Okay.
And then I have a little bit of equipment here for my wife, and so I improvised. And Larry and I now we go back to the gym at least 2 days a week.
Okay.
And they take your temperature and they get a lot of cleaning and you wear your mask, and the club is so big that even if they're crowded, it's not crowded.
Right. Okay.
So we're getting in really too good. So I'm splitting it, and then I'll do legs at home. I got some equipment here that I can do legs with.
Okay.
So
do you have any limitations on what you can do, John? Any aches and pains or anything?
Oh yeah, the back. Always have trouble with the back.
Or back, yeah.
I had taken a year off from all kinds of training. My back was so bad, and with the MRI and all the shots I had, and they said, well, John, your degenerative discs, they're all gone.
Yeah. But you had this problem when you were younger too, right? With your back.
I had scoliosis when I was young, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So what I do, John, is just improvise and work around it. And when I had taken that year off, I couldn't get out of my chair. And eventually came around and started working out again. When I went back to the gym, I was doing leg presses halfway with just 25 pounds on each end.
Yeah.
I was down to 160 pounds.
Oh, no kidding. Wow. You lost 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have to work out to kind of keep pumped up.
Yeah, okay.
I'm one of those with that metabolism,
Yeah.
So I'm kind of fortunate that way. I don't gain a lot of weight if I don't work out. I have a tendency to lose.
Yeah. Now, a lot of guys, when they get older, they'll stop training heavy or with heavier weight, and they'll just go real light. Do you do that, or do you still try to go? You still train heavy?
Medium. I'll try. That ego is still there, and I'll try.
Yeah.
Like preacher curls. I was doing right up until the pandemic. I was doing 100-pound barbell preacher curls.
Okay.
And
wow.
Then I used 50-pound dumbbells for preacher, and I went to 55, and then I went to 60 because I was showing off, and I strained my arm, the bike.
Yeah.
So I backed up a little, went back to 50. As old as you get, you never learn. You still make the mistakes.
No, that's interesting though, because I'm interested in how older people train, and someone like yourself who was a bodybuilding champion, and you're still in there training hard, and you're still pushing the weights. So I mean, that's obviously what's helping keep the muscle, right?
John, it's right, yeah, and I'm embarrassed when I get like Larry. We'll go someplace, and Larry says, this guy is Mr. America.
Yeah.
And I get all embarrassed, Yeah. I said, yeah. It's like, I'm going to go out for Mr. Dunkin' Donut next time. I'm just one of the guys at the gym.
Yeah.
And I think young. Most of my friends are young, 20 years younger. I don't have anybody my age because they're all most of them died. I had a big staff at the gym. They're gone. All the guys now, they're gone. My staff I had up in Massachusetts, they're gone.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's sad when I think about it, but I don't feel my age. Sometimes when I get up and my back is hurting, I'm in a lot of pain, I feel my age then, but most of the time, and I still think young. And I said, what's wrong with me? I shouldn't be thinking this way.
Right.
No. I'm still looking at those girls at the gym.
Right.
I'm not chasing them out, not like I used to,
Right.
I don't do that anymore, but I look.
Yeah.
And I'll nudge Larry. I said, oh, man. No, but I tried.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I tried. My testosterone test was still normal.
Really?
But
Wow.
my doctor gave me one of those that you rub on the cream.
Yeah, the cream, yeah.
And I felt bad.
Wow.
I really felt bad from it. After about a week, I stopped taking it. I stopped rubbing.
Wow.
I think I gave it to Larry. He put another 10 pounds on.
Right. Well, that's interesting. So it seems like you've got a very fast metabolism, and you obviously have good genetics because you grew the muscle easily, but you have a sensitive system. So anything you take, like any kind of drugs you take, your body it reacts very badly to that.
Exactly. I have asthma, and when they give me an inhalant, I went through several inhalants because every single one of them made me feel bad.
Wow.
Finally found one that I can use when I have a flare up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you're very healthy. You still train heavy, and you obviously eat really well, right? Your diet is still good.
Yeah, I don't take any blood pressure or heart medicines or anything. Matter of fact, John, I went to the heart specialist for the first time.
Okay.
I come down with an irregular heartbeat. I was at my chiropractor's, and the nurse said, "Get to the emergency room right away." She said, She says, "I was a cardiac nurse for 10 years. You're in trouble."
Wow.
So I go, set up an appointment with a cardio, and he does all the testing, and they gave me that overnight thing, with you got to sleep with 24 hours, and he says, "Yeah, you got a regular heartbeat." So I get on the treadmill for the stress test, and it goes away. Doing the test, the damn thing goes away, and the doctor said, "You can go." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "You're okay." He said, "It's gone. It went away." And John, I went back for a year checkup about 4 months ago, and he said he took me out to the counter with the receptionist and the girls. I got to give him the paper and make another appointment in a year, and he says, "Girls, turn around here. I want you to see this guy." And he takes my hand, he raises it up like a winner, and he says, "How's this guy look for 60 years old?" And I said, "Doc, you overdoing it. They're gonna think I look bad for 60."
Right.
You should have said 70 or 75.
Yeah.
But it's like we have a lot of fun today. We still have fun.
Yeah.
And when John told you about the camaraderie and the fun we had at the gym, it was amazing. Everybody, we were like a big family, and we played jokes on each other. It was just a lot of fun. I look back and I had a good time.
Yeah. So when you were, I want to take you back to that 70 Olympia because that's interesting. When you were judging, who did you vote for? Did you vote for Arnold or did you vote for Sergio? Do you remember?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Oh, really?
They can't. They had Leroy Colbert come in. We were in a big room, and we had the two guys right in front. I mean, in normal lighting, and they were going through their posing, and they had Leroy.
Did they do the prejudging at a different location than the theater?
No, it was backstage.
Oh, really? Backstage?
Yeah, Brooklyn Academy had a lot of rooms back there.
Okay.
A lot of dressing rooms.
So you had Sergio and Arnold right there in front of you.
Yep, right there. Oh God, right there. 10 feet away.
Yeah.
And then in 70, Arnold was on a platform and he was doing pictures. And I'm standing right there, and I'm looking at him, and I'm saying, how could anybody build his body that good? I mean, it was perfection. Everything, calves, everything was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I just shook my head. I said, oh, man, you know.
And how did Sergio look?
Well, I didn't see him on that platform, but he looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that's why we had such a hard time trying to. And I just wanted to give you a little. When Harold Poole and Larry Scott were competing with each other, the second time Scott won, they had Harold Poole ahead, the judges.
Right.
The promoter, Scott was going to do a world tour. So the promoter came in and said to the judge, look, I got to have Scott win.
No way.
Next year can be Poole's year. They said, yeah, they're so close, it doesn't matter. So, we could do it.
Right.
Well, the next year, Sergio comes into the scene and Poole never wins.
Right.
So he got screwed.
Right.
And Poole was great. He had a great physique.
Did you see that year too, the first year Sergio?
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw all the contests from 1965 on.
Wow, no kidding.
I saw Draper and Reg Lewis, and they were all. I mean that the contest that Weeder put on, he'd have a live orchestra, he'd have the MCs and the ushers all dressed in tuxedos. Mm-hmm. It was class.
Yeah.
Now at that time we weren't posing to music, but the orchestra played music.
Right.
We didn't have our own music at the time. That didn't come into
later, yeah.
To later, yeah.
Yeah.
But those years at that particular Brooklyn Academy of Music was absolutely phenomenal. I've been to contests since. I've never seen anything like it. I've never heard anything.
I've talked to people that have gone to those shows, and they said the noise level, the atmosphere, it was just incredible.
It was electrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And you had all the AAU guys were at those contests. I mean, I remember Joe Bender and Tom Sansone and all the guys that won in the past that were still alive. They were there. I met so many of the old timers.
They were there just watching it. They didn't compete.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, do you remember when Pearl? He won so many times. He won the universe, but I think the last time he won, Sergio was there.
Right.
Weeder wouldn't let Arnold go.
Right.
And Pearl won.
Yeah.
And Pearl was fantastic.
Yeah.
I never saw him up close like I did Arnold with posing, but the guy was fantastic. He was unbelievable. And he could have been an Olympia if he chose to.
Yeah, I wonder why he never did. I guess he didn't trust Joe Weeder, huh?
Probably.
Yeah.
Because when the day after I won the America, we went for pictures, and all the guys were in there, and they're taking turns to have your pictures. You'd have a dozen different pictures taken.
Jimmy Caruso was a photographer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I remember Sergio came up, and he was arguing with Weeder, and he was pounding the table with his fist. I want my money now. Bam, bam.
Wow.
And I'm saying, holy shit, are you serious? There's no love between these two guys.
Right.
But I was always respectful to, especially guys who are older and in that position, even if I disagreed, I was always respectful.
Right.
To them.
Yeah.
And
how were those Brooklyn Academy shows compared to the Mr. America? Because you did both. You did the Mr. America and you did the IFBB.
Can't compare to the Brooklyn Academy Music.
Yeah.
Can't compare. When we started out, that Boston YMCA, there's a sheet. The background was a sheet.
Yeah.
With one light above you.
Right.
It was 2:00 in the morning because you had to wait for
you had to do the weightlifting first. Yeah.
Did you go through that at all? Or you came later?
No, my first show was 79, so yeah, they just had the bodybuilding by itself.
You're just a kid.
Yeah.
How old are you?
57.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Prime. The prime. I think the prime is in your 50s.
Really?
I believe that.
Yeah.
You can stay in such good shape and make great progress in your 50s.
Yeah.
But you know, the best time in life for me was my 70s.
Really? Huh? How come?
Because by the time you reach 70 and you're still in good shape and you're healthy, you're comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
You know, any of those idiosyncrasies or
Insecurities or
insecurity. That's the one I was looking at. That's the word I was looking for. I'm gone.
Yeah.
Be yourself.
Right.
You know? And I'm not chasing the ladies anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I can relax. I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Of course, when I got married, I had to stop anyway.
Right. How long have you been married, John?
I went with her for 20 years.
Wow.
I was engaged for 20 years and married her 20 years ago.
Okay. Wow. You guys dated for 20 years.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And I smartened up.
Yeah. Well, I believe you because I'm in my late 50s now, and I feel more comfortable, less insecurities and stuff, and more myself now. So I can imagine as you get older, you feel more like that.
The only problem is you're in your 50s now, and then 10 years you're going to be in your 60s. That's good. That's still good.
Yeah.
Well, when you get in your 80s, hey, it's getting pretty slim.
Right.
10 years you're going to be.
Right.
So if I go out anytime, I've lived a long life.
Yeah.
I consider this when you hit 80, you hit 56, 55, chances are you're going to hit 60 and 65.
Right.
The longer you live, the longer you will live.
Okay.
That's, in other words, I'm 80. I have a better chance of hitting 90 than you do.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But you will catch up, right?
Yeah.
And it's even all the experience that we have, and we have a lot of knowledge and experience. But I'm just like a kid in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
If someone comes up and asks me a question, I have to think back. Well, how would you solve this?
Yeah.
It's not right off the top of the head. It's sometimes it takes some thought.
Yeah. When you were training at the gym, did you get guys asking you questions, like younger guys? You did. Okay, good. That's good.
I had the most recent ones was a bunch of high school kids. Somebody said that's a former Mr. America, so they come over, and this one kid, I said, he's asking me questions. I said, look, how many days do you work out? He said 7. 7 days. I said, you don't take a day off. You don't take a day off with your girlfriend. No, I work out. He says, I work out twice a day, 7 days a week.
Wow.
And I said, well, the advice I'm going to give you, less is more. Cut down. If you want to make more progress, cut back.
Yeah.
Give your body a chance to rest and recuperate.
Right.
And I was a disciple of Vince Gironda.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Yeah, I went out to Vince's gym. I trained there 3 different times back in 67 and 82.
Okay.
And 60. Don Howorth was my training partner.
Oh, really? Okay.
Back in 62. I met Don in a Pasadena gym, which was run by Gene Mosé at the time. He was a good photographer.
Yeah.
And Don and I trained together. And then when I went back, he was training at Vince's. The Pasadena gym closed up, so he went to North Hollywood and trained.
Okay.
And we one day we were watching Scott doing lat pull downs, and he had his ankles under the T-bar on his knees, and he had the bar that you held so your knuckles are facing your face, or facing the side of your face. And he'd come down and roll He'd come down almost behind the head and then roll to the front. And you could see the striations all the way down to his ankles.
Wow. Okay.
Don and I looked at each other, and Don said, "I don't believe it. What are we doing here?" And I said, "Don, I don't believe it either." But that was at Scott's prime, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And he had those melon delts and beautiful shaped arms. And
yeah. I wish I could have seen him in his prime, because I heard he was amazing.
And a good looking guy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's you don't have to be good looking. A lot of guys with the roids, you know, lose their hair, right?
Right.
And so it's a different scenario today. But back then, if you were good looking like Scott, he made money with what he did.
Yeah.
He made some good money.
Yeah. What do you think of the bodybuilders today, John? Because, you know, it's been a long time since you competed, and the reason you got out of it was because of the drugs. So obviously now the guys are taking way, way more. The sport is so different. What do you think of the guys today?
I don't keep up on it.
You don't keep up on it? Okay.
I don't keep abreast of it. Larry does, and he'll say to me, he'll mention these names, and somebody won Olympia, somebody won. And I said, "Larry, I don't even know who that is."
Yeah.
I said, "I have no interest," and I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not blown away by 300-pound guys cut up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have to waddle when you walk, but that's their choice. I'm not downing them. That's their choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's become a different game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I think that's why the nostalgia with the 50s, but especially the 60s, that's when it really became the prominence. And I think that's why it's so big.
Yeah, people still remember those days. Yeah.
So those days, they were still the kind of the innocent days.
Yeah.
Drugs weren't prevalent, you know.
Right.
So I think that's probably why. But your question about today's, no, I admire anybody that can win a championship. To be a champion, you have to go all out.
Yeah.
But I don't believe in that you sacrifice your health to become. And you know, John, other sports, it wasn't just bodybuilding; it was everything. Wrestling, you had 100,000 federations across the country of wrestling, small town federation, and all these guys were taking steroids. Nobody checking them. Nobody's testing, and thousands of guys die.
Yeah.
From taking too many steroids. And I remember the bodybuilders from the yesteryear that never made it to 40. You know? Yeah. Because they were just taking too. I worked out in Vince's gym. There was a guy by the name of Bob Tessier.
Yeah, the actor. Yeah.
Yeah. He one day, and there were a lot. I had met all these TV stars and movie stars, and worked out with, you know, Carl Weathers and Kevin Dobson, and I could go on. But he went up to the mirror one day, and all these they were good-looking guys. They were there in Hollywood because they were good-looking, right?
Right.
He goes up and he looks in the mirror and he goes, yeah, guys, he says, "I'm still making movies because of my good looks." Well, you guys, you're collecting on the point. You know how he got into the movies. He had taken me and Don to his garage, and he had these 3 motorcycles that were unbelievable. And they rented the movie company rented his bikes. They wanted his bikes, so he's delivering the bikes. And when the producer saw him and the director, they wrote him in. They rewrote the script and put him as a character. They said, "You've got to be in the movie." And that was the Born Losers.
Oh, okay.
He was a motorcycle guy in the Born Losers.
Yeah.
Then he went on to, you know, Hard Times with Charles Bronson and with Burt Reynolds in that, what was that football movie?
Oh, Longest Yard.
Yeah, that was it. See, I had that senior moment, you know.
Yeah.
I get that. Now that I do get every now and then.
Yeah. I interviewed Earl Menard, and Earl was in a movie with him, in The Deep. and they had a fight scene. Did you ever see that movie with?
No.
It was Nick Nolte and Jacqueline Bisset, and it was in the Caribbean somewhere, the Bahamas. And Earl Menard was I forget who he was, a good guy. I think he was the bad guy, and Bob was the good guy. And they had a fight scene, and they had a like a motor from a boat, and they were fighting with the motor. You know, like he was holding the motor from the boat, and he's trying to cut him with it and stuff. It was a pretty intense fight scene, yeah.
You know, I can't remember. I might have seen that, but I can't recall that.
You'll have to rent that. Yeah, that was a good fight scene.
Yeah. I'll have to look. I have to look that one up.
Right.
I have to see that.
Yeah.
But Bob died of stomach cancer.
Did he? Okay.
He was living on Dianabol.
Really?
He weighed about 130 pounds, and he was from Lawrence, Massachusetts, and we got along because we were both in Massachusetts. You know.
Right.
Tough guy.
Yeah, I heard he was a real tough guy in real life. Yeah. Well, when I see you, John, I have a friend in Chicago. His name's Merle Hall, lifetime drug-free, and he was competing in his 70s, still looking amazing. You know, he had great abs. He always had really good abs. And I just saw a video of him on Facebook. He's going to be 80 this month, and he was doing 2-finger pull-ups. You know,
phenomenal.
Yeah, he's obviously a little thinner now. He's 80 years old, but he's just. I mean, there's a guy. He told me once. I did an interview with him. And he said he's never been on any medication his whole life, never blood pressure medication, anything. So that's just a perfect example of what bodybuilding can be, you know, and you're a perfect example of that too.
Would you, I'm impressed with you. Would you give him my regards?
Absolutely, yeah. I'll try to hook you guys up, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's phenomenal.
Yeah,
you know, God. And I think of 80 years old. Oh, God. I can't believe how the time flies after 50.
I know.
Slow down, John, because it flies.
I believe it. Yeah. I mean, the last 10 years have flown by so fast. I can't believe it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got to savor what we have, the moment.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It's fleeting. It just goes by.
Yeah. And
I'm not here to lecture you. You can lecture me.
No.
I go to guys for advice now.
Yeah.
I go to guys like you for advice.
Yeah. And then, too, like you said, when you get older, your friends pass away, and you know your family members and stuff. So that's a tough thing too.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So, and my wife is younger than me, and I always, when I introduce her, I says, my wife is a lot younger than I am. Well, how old? How much younger? I said, 1.5 years. But you got to, the sense of humor has got to stay.
Right. You know? Well, I have a friend, Jerry Branham. He used to write for the magazines, and Jerry grew up in Brooklyn, New York. So when the Weider shows were in the 60s, he used to go to them as a teenager and see them. So he saw you compete. And I told him he was going to do an interview with you, and he's like, "Oh, I'm really interested in listening to that," because you know Jerry's, I think, in his 70s now, so he's amazed at how great a shape you were in.
What's his last name?
Branham.
Branham?
Yeah.
It sounds familiar. I don't know if maybe I've heard of him before, but it sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's done a lot of interviews with me because he's been around. He moved to California in the 60s, so he got to meet Arnold and Zane and hung around with those guys and stuff.
Oh, he was in the big time, right?
Yeah.
He was in the big time. Okay.
But he wrote articles for Weider's magazine, so he was covering a lot of the shows and stuff. So
the thoughts of going out when I had won. Weider wanted me to come out for pictures, you know, for the ads and stuff. And
yeah.
I just, if I had gone, I probably wouldn't be here today because I probably would have gotten into
the drugs.
You know, I mean, who knows? If you wanted to stay in competition, you had to.
Yeah.
But don't you think, John, today is a different? I mean, even what Arnold took. If Arnold took what they took today, can you imagine? He was great as a. Can you imagine what he would have looked like?
Oh, my God, yeah, I know.
300 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah, I often wonder, like, if the guys back then would have did what they're doing today. I'm sure they would have. But it seemed like back then the judging was based more on not just the size, but also the symmetry, how good-looking the physiques were. You know, it seemed like there was judging. The judging standards were different back then than they are today.
I think so.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. It's been a while since I mean, it's been a long time since I judged contests. I didn't want to judge anymore. Didn't want, and I wanted, if I went to a contest, I wanted to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And, so I gave that up.
What they've done today is they've created all these different divisions now. They've got classic physique, which is the more Frank Zane symmetrical physique. And then the bodybuilding is just for the bigs, the size. Those guys are huge. The guy that won the Mr. Olympia last year was almost 300 pounds. So it's just different. They don't judge them all together anymore. It's different. Like, oh, you have a more symmetrical physique, you're classic. And then they have the board shorts, the men's physique. Yeah. So if those guys don't have legs or whatever, they just have a nicer. Those guys are pretty big too. But it's just different categories now. So it's not like all one category.
That's pretty good because the guys with the smaller bone structure, they can't carry the weight.
Yeah.
They're not designed to carry that kind of weight. And that's good that they have a venue too.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like when Frank Zane was winning Mr. Olympia, he wasn't ever a big guy, but the judges still judged him ahead of the big guys. So the judges back then must have been able to, differentiate between someone who's more symmetrical, someone who's bigger, the proportion, the symmetry. They had to take all that into account,
There was a guy that was natural that came after me, Bob Galluchi.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I met Bob, yeah.
No, but it had to be 10 times harder for Bob.
Yeah.
Because he was up against the drugs.
Right.
I was in the 60s. They weren't prevalent. But he was going up against them, and he stayed natural.
Yeah, he was a big guy, too.
A big boy.
Yeah.
He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in New Jersey.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we're sitting at dinner, and he comes up and he starts to talk, and he said, "I want to thank John DeCola for the inspiration, the early inspiration."
Kidding.
He says, "Can you imagine? I went to his gym one time and worked out with him, and he gave me a poster with his picture and autographed it, and I had it in my basement. I had it in my gym for years."
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah. And I never expected that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then we had Chris Dickinson was inducted. And Chris is really kind of in bad shape in a way, crippled up,
I heard, yeah.
Yeah. And a lovely guy, and he came to see me in Framingham from New York. Never called. I didn't know. He walked in, and this was after he won Mr. America, and here's Chris Dickinson. I said, "Chris, what?" And I said, "Look, let me take you to lunch." He had a friend with him, and I said, "I'm going to take you to a place I go. It's a blue collar place. It's not fancy. As a matter of fact, a lot of cops go there because the food's good, but." So we go into town, and we get in the booth, and the waitress comes over, and she looks at him, and she says, "Hey, didn't I see you on the Tonight Show last week with Johnny Carson?" He says, "Yeah." She says, "Well, what are you doing with this shithead?" I said, "Chris, I told you. It's not a classy place." Well, some of these things you can't make up.
Right.
But we had, like I said before, we had so much fun. Always had a sense of humor. If you don't have that, you miss out.
Yeah.
Too many guys get road rages.
Right.
I mean, a lot of these incidents on the highway, a lot of these.
Yeah.
From somebody on steroids, they have a roid rage.
Right.
And I don't know if you saw this. It was a video. It was on about 2 weeks ago, and it showed this two guys they get into a roid rage, and one guy was a bodybuilder, looked like he weighed about 270, cut up, and he's dancing in a circle around this taller guy, tall, just thin. And he's beating his chest like this, He's got And he went and charged the guy. The guy threw him down, got on top of him, and knocked him out. Hit him 3 times. Whack, whack, and knocked him out.
Right.
Do you think that guy's got a big head anymore?
No, I hope not.
He's back to earth.
Right. Oh, man.
Oh, geez.
Well, John, I'll let you go. I know you're probably busy. It was great talking to you. Great finally getting to meet you. And I wish you all the best, man. You look fantastic.
I appreciate those words, John. Coming from you, I appreciate it. And I'm glad I met you. Larry told me about you. I didn't know anything about what you were doing.
Right.
I saw that interview with John Taylor, and I appreciate you thinking of me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I'm trying to get the old time guys on here, so people learn about the history of the sport. So
wait. You mean you don't mean the old guys? You mean the older guys?
Older guys. Right?
Older guys.
The legends. I should say the legends. The legends on here.
Okay, John, it's a pleasure, man. I tell you.
Yeah, it was great meeting you, John. I wish you the best of health. You look fantastic, and thanks for all the stories, and thanks for your story about how you competed and stuff. It was great.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Take care, John.
I'll give you one more flex.
All right. Awesome. I was going to ask you if you didn't do it.
You take care.
All right, John.